Do you want to make your own podcast? Well, let me tell you, Spotify's got a platform that lets you make one super easily, then distribute it everywhere and even earn money all in one place for free. Yes, for free. It's called Spotify for Podcasters. And here's how it works. Spotify for Podcasters lets you record and edit podcasts right from your phone or computer. So no matter what your setup is like, you can start creating today. Then you can distribute your podcast to Spotify and everywhere else podcasts are heard. Video podcasts are also available on Spotify. And when you want to take conversations with your fans to the next level, Q&A and polls are the best way to get them talking. With Spotify for Podcasters, you can earn money in a variety of ways, including ads and podcast subscriptions. Best of all, it's totally free with no catch. Ever since we discovered Spotify for Podcasters, we have been able to create the Young Dad podcast as well as another podcast called Ball Boy Talk. It has been incredible for us and it's given us this platform where we're able to reach you, reach so many people worldwide on a dozen different streaming platforms for free. It's easy, it's simple. I highly recommend you give it a try if you want to make your own podcast. Download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started today. Welcome into the Young Dad Podcast. I'm your host, Jay, and with me tonight, with his presence, is my little puppy pup, Ringo Dingo. Welcome, Ringo, to the show, everybody. Ringo, they're clapping for you. Your tail's wagging. You're so excited. Of course, you can't see him, but Ringo is the cutest little Australian Shepherd Lab mix ever, and he's such a good boy. Not with us tonight, though, is my good boy, beautiful, handsome co host, A. Ron. He's unfortunately a little under the weather, so I'm holding down the ship today. It is March 14th of this recording as my voice is coming out of my mouth. It is March 14th. As always, there's a special early release only promoted on our Twitter once. So make sure you follow over on our Twitter so you never miss an early release and you get the Young Dad podcast just a little bit sooner. Today on our episode, we're going to be talking about Women's History Month, talking about a couple of very influential women in history, one in particular when it comes to women in journalism and women in sports from way back in the 1940s that has a special tie to our family. And then we're going to talk about the impact of women on our girls in our lives, I guess my life, not our life, but and then just the importance of having good female role models, whether you're a man or a woman. So you know what to do. Pull up a chair, grab a snack, grab a juice box, and let's talk. Huge thank you to our live in studio audience. So very thankful for you guys. We cannot do this without you. So I want to talk about first Sojourner Truth. Without Sojourner Truth, we would not have a Women's Month. Women would not be as important and incredible as they are in our daily lives, in our economy, in our society, without her in the role that she played in trailblazing the path. So a little bit about Sojourner Truth if you don't know who she is. At the 1851 Women's Rights Convention held in Akron, Ohio, Sojourner Truth delivered what is now recognized as one of the most famous abolitionist and women's rights speeches in American history, called Ain't I a Woman? During the speech, she basically said, Ain't I a woman? Ain't I a black woman? And just really started trailblazing the movement for women to have equal rights as men in the United States. Super crazy important. And to imagine that was less than 200 years ago is even crazier. That it took 1800 years after AD, or after death of what we live in, that women weren't recognized as equals, even though the Bible teaches that women are equals and stuff. So that's crazy. Crazy to me to think about that. The next one is a very close tie to home for Aaron and I. So her name is Willa Bay Hansen, Harmon. She, as she told sports writer Dan Burley in a 1944 interview, she first became interested in working with the Chicago Defender when there was a guest speaker named Frank or Fay Young, the dean of black sports writers. Fun fact about Fay Young, he is Aaron and I great great grandfather. And he trailblazed the path for African American sports writers in sports, covering the Negro Leagues, covering African American athletes throughout this time in America, the 20s, the 30s, 40s, 50s, up until he passed away. So Fay Young came to talk in her news writing class at Lincoln High School. While Fay was best known for his work with the Chicago Defender, he spent several years working as the managing editor of The Call, and young Willa Bay was so inspired by him that she decided she wanted a job. She began as a gopher, but gradually she was given a chance to do some copy editing and then some occasional reporting. After high school, she went off to college to study journalism, and once she graduated, she went to work for the Argus until The Call had an opening, but it wasn't for a news reporter. The Call needed an entertainment writer. By December 1942, she was writing a byline column called the Gospel Truth. Whether writing about the entertainment industry or covering the world of sports, Harmon was unique in a country that was segregated and where women opportunities in journalism were often limited. She did not let anything stop her. She was a true pioneer in sports reporting. Again, not because of, but thanks to the impact of our great grandfather Fay being willing to not step away from his role as the dean of black sports writers and step away from the Chicago Defender, but also take on these other projects and go out into his community and talk about what he's doing and set the example by action and inspire someone like Willa to go out into her community and to take this risk and to help set the path for women in journalism and trailblaze the path forward. So I think that's just super cool. Big shout out to my mentor, Donna Halper, Dr. Donna Halper, because she's the one that researched Willa and has a beautiful piece on the Saber Bio project when it comes to Willa and when it comes to Faye. Both those are going to be posted in the show notes. So very excited to share those with you. We are working on, let's see, we're going to be working on getting into, what are we working on getting into? Working on getting Frank or Fay Young into the Baseball Hall of Fame. Because of his huge role with the Negro Leagues, he was pretty much one of the few people actually covering it, reporting it on a daily consistent basis. There's tracked evidence of Fay being a proponent in the Jackie Robinson story when Jackie wanted to quit baseball and wanted to say, I'm done. No, I'm not doing this. Fay was there, and Fay was the one that convinced him to keep playing. It's a legit story, real sources. Why Fay hasn't been recognized at any level for his impact with the Negro Leagues and covering it and recording it for history's sake, beyond me. But a huge shout out to him, inspiring someone like Willa Bay, among other African American female sports writers when they were young, to follow the lead and to keep going because they saw someone with their same skin color and said, he's doing it, I can do it. And I feel that right there, that is the impact that women in our society have today. When a woman at any level, doesn't matter her skin color, but shows up in sports media, whether it's like Rachel Luba, or whether it's an actress on a screen, whether it's in a movie, a play, a show, whatever, then inspires other young girls. And they have someone to look up to and to aspire to be like. And I think that's so cool. And it just gives them someone to hold as an example, a healthy example of what they can be and what they can work towards if that's their dream. They exist in every field. I challenge you as a parent that if you have a young girl and she has a keen interest, find her a female role model in that field. Reach out to that female role model with her. If there's someone that she's inspired by, reach out to that person, make that connection. Social media is amazing that way. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, whatever it is, find a way to connect and just let that woman know that she's inspiring your daughter, because that's going to be huge for her as a creator, as someone that's just maybe struggling to know if she's not an imposter or something. Super important. In addition to that, I just wanted to mention the impact of African American women in the society. One example, and this will live rent free in my head for as long as I live. I went and saw the new Black Panther movie when it was in theaters, and it was toward the end. I was standing at the thing, ready to leave, watching the credits because it's a Marvel movie, so you stay for the end, right? And then at the very end, I'm watching there, standing there. I was already emotional because of the movie. Yeah, I cry in movies, whatever. But there's this little girl, little African American girl that was there. She told her mom, one of her parents, I want to say it was her mom, she's like, Mom, I love Shooty. She's like, Shooty is so beautiful. I want to be like Shooty. I want to be a Black Panther. This little girl, like no joke, maybe 6, 7, 8 years old, can't be no more, was just saying how much she was inspired by Shooty. Seeing a African American superhero on the screen in the movie theater at a young age. So powerfully inspiring. And I'm so happy that Marvel went that direction, because that was the right choice. To put a female African American actress into this prominent role, succeeding uh, Chadwick in that way was just chef's kiss. It was so good. And that memory will live in my head forever, because that's the impact that can be had. Granted, well, does that actress know anything about this little girl? No, do I know? Um, but I hope that someday as she carries that example and knows that she can do whatever she wants. That she wants to be an actress, she can be Suri in the next Black Panther movie. Whatever she wants to do, she can do and accomplish. Because that's the impact. That is the impact of women in our lives. For men, women teach us so much. Like I look back and everything I learned how to do, a lot of things I learned how to cook, I learned from a woman. I learned how to iron from a woman. I learned how to tie my shoes, read a book. A lot of things I do every day, I learned from women, female teachers, and females in my life and women in my life. And I have 2 young daughters, so it's super important that good female role models are a part of my life. So I'm very picky about the women that I'm around. I'm very picky about the women I date. I know Aaron probably will disagree with that, but there is a point where I am picky with the women I date or hang out with on a regular basis, to a point where it's like I want to know them before I bring them, like even as a friend, bring them around my kids. Um, because and some people I know already, and I'll be like, oh yeah, this is someone that you can be cool with. Um, this is definitely someone that's another good woman like you can have in your life. Because I'm single. I'm single. And I want to, like, my next partner, the person I marry, whether it's no matter who it is, whether it's the next person I date, hopefully, or someone in the future, but whoever that is, I just want them to be the best example of a woman that they see on a regular basis. Someone that's just good, happy, a mentor that cares, that's a good person, empathetic, sympathetic, all those things, much like my grandma, my aunt, my cousins, my sister in law, uh, much like my ex wife. A lot of her friends are that way. Um, Parents I interact with, at school and whatnot, and little league. I'm very mindful of these things. The women that my girls see on a regular basis, because it's so important that they see good female role models around them, teachers, things like that. Because women are everywhere. There's more women than men on the earth. It's just a fact. So making sure that my girls can see that women in all these different roles, um, whether it's in movies or in TV or YouTube or um, just wherever they go. And just know that these are good people that care. They set a good example at church or whatever. That you look toward the good ones in your life for the good example. You look at the bad ones for what not to do. But you also learn from the good ones because they've been through that. They've been through a lot. Everyone has a story. So it's really important to learn and to ask questions and especially, pick and choose your role models wisely. I would say that to anyone, man, woman, child, boy, girl, whatever. It doesn't matter. Uh, Pick and choose your role models wisely. Research your role models. Talk to your role models, your mentors. Like I'm so grateful that I have amazing women in my life because I grew up without a mother, my actual biological mother in my life. Erin and I both did. Neither of us had her in our lives, and we were lucky enough that we both had grandparents, grandmothers who took us in and raised us as one of their own. I was also super fortunate to have my grandma, my aunt. Shout out to my aunt. My other grandma in Hawaii, and just all these incredible women around me that showed me just incredible motherly love. In high school, my best friend's mom, you know, uh, she, commented on my post, saying that I'm her son, and just that connection, because I loved her as a mother. I would wish her happy Mother's Day. I would call her and wish her happy Mother's Day. Um, she's just an incredible woman. I had other moms in high school like Mama Wood and, um, just people I held in that role because they were just such good women. Like looking back, they were just good women that were motherly, but then also were just good people. And I feel like it's so important for women and men and parents and mothers alike to just be good people. Set a good example of what a good human being is, because that's going to go a whole heck of a lot further at the end of the day than anything else you might think of. So yeah, and the impact of those female role models in my life, immensible. I learned so many things. Learned how to be a better human being. I learned how to not perfectly, but slightly learn how to treat women and respect women and do the things old fashioned way because I am being raised by a grandmother. You do things in old school way. You have those old values and uh, how to speak up for women. Like I was raised with girls. My two cousins are girls, and I was raised with them primarily. And uh, you learn to speak up for girls and to advocate for them, especially when you have daughters. You learn to advocate for them and you know be a voice for good and a voice for reason and a voice to move forward. And that's just part of the impact that men can have on in the situation. But we're focusing on the females here. The impact, the role, the role models is lifetime. It's a lifetime impact. It's like I have been impacted by so many good women in my life. I'm so grateful. I've been impacted by bad women too that didn't have the best intentions, that weren't the best, and I learned. Um, you learn those things as you get older, but it's so important that female role models are there daily to be there for us as men. Men, we need women. We want women. We want good women. Every man should want a good woman because a good woman is worth her weight in gold. Okay, sorry. And a good woman for men, if we're talking about a good woman, from my perspective, it's one that brings you peace, ones that care about you, that loves you, that feeds you, that supports you through it all. That will always be there for you no matter what. That will always build you up and never bring you down. And there's, I don't want to expose myself, and she knows who she is because she listens to this podcast, but um, there is a woman that brings me peace that I care about. And um, yeah, I'll leave it at that. but she knows who she is, and I hope she listens. But man, it's crazy because looking back for myself at the impact, I never really thought about it now. Like I'm one that personally hated Mother's Day, and I hate the word hate, but I had a really negative relationship with Mother's Day where I usually just kind of shut down, I hermit, and I don't really talk to anyone. It's always been really hard for me. I remember being younger, I would cry and I would hide away in my room on Mother's Day. I wouldn't talk to no one. I'd say F this, and it would be the first, I would make the bare minimum phone calls. I'd usually call my grandma, I'd call my aunt, and that's about it. And then, oh, of course, my stepmom as well. I would talk to her, but outside of that, it's always been a weird relationship with that day. And this month has been really interesting too, kind of reflecting on it in women's history because there's so many great women around history, in history that have been so important in so many different fields and around the world. Um, Whether it doesn't matter their skin color because they've all been a great impact and they're still an impact today. I mean, our vice president's a woman. A lot of our political leaders are women. There's CEOs that are women. There's leaders in your community that are women, and they're the best leaders in your community that you're going to get. Uh, Not because they're women, but because they're the best leaders. And they're taking the stage, they're taking the forefront, they're leading their communities, they're leading their tribes, they're stepping up, and it's incredible to see, and I love it, especially having girls. Like I said, coming back to that, I love seeing women step up and lead and take command and be in control because that just shows my girls that it's possible for them. And I know with everything going on in the world, it's hard to see. It's hard to believe, it's hard to keep that going, but it is possible. So if you have daughters, all I ask is that you help your girls find strong, positive female role models. Of course, their mom is going to be one. Their older sisters, if they have older sisters, will be one. Older cousins will be one. Family will be some of them, but other people that they can look to for an example and be like, oh, this person did all this, and help them understand the women in history. Talk to them about, you know, go down rabbit holes with them, like Willa Harmon. Bet you never heard her name before. Everyone knows Sojourner Truth, but only knows that. Read speech with your girls. Read and learn and teach them the history of women in our country, in the United States, or wherever country you're at. I know we're international, we're worldwide, we're a worldwide podcast. So um, wherever you're at, teach your girls about the important women in your country today and yesterday, and the impact that they had, and what they did specifically, and maybe what they didn't do, what lessons we learned from them. Teach them the good and the bad. Don't just focus on the good. Don't just focus on the bad. Teach them both. Help them create a full picture, and then they can decide for themselves, which is so important, especially for young girls. It's so important to help them be able to decide for themselves, to support their intuition, support when they say no, support when they say yes, support them through it all. And that's what um, great female role models do in our lives. They support us because they care. We have to do the same for our girls. As dads, we have to support them because we care about them. We want them to learn the good and the bad. We want them to be protected, but we can't protect them from everything. We shouldn't. We should let them fail. We should let them learn, struggle, and grow, and become just this beautiful, beautiful individual that is going to run the world. Because I'm not gonna lie, pretty sure Aaron and I kids are going to run the world, just in very different ways. All the younger ones are going to run the vibes, while the older two are running the world, like literally. So, um, just the way it is. Sorry that y'all had to find out this way, but our kids are going to run the world. But it's going to be good vibes, very good vibes, high vibes, good vibes, chill vibes. Um, but yeah, like I'm saying, women are so important to our structure in this country that we live in the United States. There's probably been if you're listening in a foreign country that's not the United States, guarantee there's been so many women that have played a major key piece and some part of something that you care about today. And I guarantee that there's a woman that, was behind something that you care about today here in the United States or had her hands in it. Might not have been talked about, but I guarantee if you go down enough rabbit holes, you'll find out. And yeah, so, not a ton to talk about tonight without my co-host Aaron, but enough to talk about and to celebrate women. Women are great. They are highly influential in our lives. They're influential in our kids' lives. They've been influential in my life. They've been influential in Aaron's life. Been influential in all our lives. Let's do what we can to protect them, to raise them up, to celebrate them, to support them throughout the rest of this month, and to just really show our appreciation. That's what it comes down to. Show your appreciation to the fellow women in your life, and don't don't stop showing your appreciation for them. Just don't. That's it. That's as simple as that. Make it very easy for you guys. But um, outside of that, that's all we got for tonight. That's all I got. So you know what? First, thank you for listening. Thank you so much for being here. Um, thank you for listening. We're thankful for our 15,000 downloads now on our podcast. We're grateful for all that. We just started streaming on Twitch, where we'll just be on there talking, answering questions. We just started, we have a couple awesome partnerships and sponsorships on the horizon. Obviously, you heard one earlier at the beginning of the show talking about, Spotify and launching your own podcast. Make sure you interact with that. If you've ever been interested, launch a podcast. Talk to us about it. Join our podcast. Ask if Ballboy Media will support you in what you got. We want to help support you. If you're a writer, reach out to us at over on our website, the Ballboy blog, or ballboymedia.com. We can help you get noticed for your writing in sports or lifestyle or whatever it might be. So Twitch, we're on Reddit as well. You just search the Young Dad Pod subreddit. I believe that's what it is. It's awesome. It's a lot of fun. Um, we want to interact with you guys more. We want to be involved with you guys more. Make sure you leave a question that you want answered. If you want a question answered, make sure you subscribe, leave 5 stars wherever you're listening, whatever you're doing. And lastly, very last thing, we recently turned on our listener support. What our listener support is basically we are creating a way where if you feel inclined, if you want to, you do not have to. We will not make anyone support us in any given way. However, if you would like to, we thought about doing subscriptions. We didn't like the idea of subscriptions. However, if you click the link, you can give us a monetary donation, any amount you're comfortable with, however you're comfortable with doing it. And that helps us keep the show going. It helps us create it to the next level, which is going to that next level. Starting this Friday, for probably, I don't know how many weeks it's going to take, but however many it takes, is we're going to be, or I will personally be talking about the well-balanced dad diet. We're going to be breaking that down into mini episodes, depending on the subject, but really breaking down that healthy dad diet. And you can call it the healthy parent diet, whatever you want, a well-balanced dad diet, however you want to do it, however you want to spin it. But it's going to be so much fun. And this is some of the awesome content that you guys can help support with your monetary donations. You can keep Ballboy Media running, take it to new heights, help us just get our name out there and do these things. Any money donated, we don't keep. It goes right back into the podcast. It just feeds the podcast and helps it just grow and become better and better and better. So we appreciate you guys. We appreciate everything you do for us. Thank you for listening to the very end. I definitely appreciate it. We'll be back next week as we welcome a guest, probably from Australia. We love our Aussies. We love our Aussie brothers. So we're very excited to welcome another one onto the show next week. And until next time, everybody, y'all take care and y'all have a good night.